one year ends and then the next, and then we found it was going to be August, and we were excited because we could do like the roller.
Good morning.
Yeah. So it's a really
Go ahead and get started. There should be more people coming, but I'm Mike Hansen, and welcome to this Digital Security and Literacy. I'm the Network Security Manager of the college. I also do wired and wireless networking. And today is Tom Sapinski, who is our, what do you do, Tom?
Sysadmin and the Gmail administrator. Writes
the
accounts. I did it.
Yeah, so our accounts get created, or we need rights that certain areas take rights away. There's an post on our Gmail administrator. Will Rossing, he is the manager of, I don't know, what do you call yourself?
Manager of Network Services, so I take care of all the back-end infrastructure, network transport, servers, data center kind of stuff.
Related. We all work together in our department to try to keep stuff secure and back people up and data here. So I'm going to go through this and just stop and ask questions as you see fit. I'll try to cover a fairly wide area topics. So go ahead and get started here. Kind of an overview. Talking a little bit about the scams that we see, the stuff that will be targeted towards you, and as an employee of the college or personally. And these are all the things that we see on a daily basis, essentially. People trying to steal your identity, tech support scams. Just the other night, my wife's cell phone rang, and it was a phone call, and we let it go to voicemail, and on it was a person saying, "Are you using a Windows computer right now? If so, you have a problem and you need to call us for tech support." So what they want to do is get you to phone them, and then they will do a remote access to your computer, and then they'll take over your computer, and then they'll drop files on it and steal information. So this is really important if you have family members that are older, maybe parents, because they end up calling landlines quite a bit. And they get people and they try to scare the heck out of them. And then what happens is they'll get online and again, personally do a remote to their computer and have access to it. Every year, maybe one or two students fall for this, unfortunately, and usually it's not a good deal. It's really hard to put things back together after they have been on your computer. So, but I will go through a lot of this stuff that we see here. Over the years, and many of you see these every day, but this is the biggest thing that we're seeing right now in the security world. Every day, so we're in a consortium of about 1,200 colleges that trade information related to information security. And one of the biggest things we see every day is phishing. People are trying to trick you into providing the information that they want. Most systems are relatively difficult to hack into, so it's a lot easier to have a bad guy try to tell them what your username and password is, and they use this in all manner of ways. We had one this summer. It was, I think, right around 4th of July, supposedly from our president sending out thing about a survey of our standards. And so I had a lot of people email me and say, what's this all about? So the thing is, if you don't know who it's from or why they're asking for that, don't answer it. Big deal. Thing that can help is in Gmail. If you click on report spam or in the inbox, this will add to the algorithm and help prevent these kind of things from getting to our inbox again. Here's a good example of an Amazon thing. Phishing, they want you to respond. If you look up here, it's not an Amazon account. That's frequently the case. So if you look at your email and see where the address is coming from, they can spoof this, but frequently they do not. And then, of course, the hover technique. If you hover over the link, and you'll see that it's actually not an Amazon thing. So there's just things you should check when you have a suspicious email. People like the IRS, the government will never request username, password information from you. Banks will never do that as well. So again, this is something to share with your family members, particularly older family members because they get really worried about stuff. The thing with phishing is bad guys want you to respond quickly without stopping to think about it. Spear phishing is something that's happened in the last 5 or 6 years. What they do is our online directory is internet facing. So people will go in and look at it, figure out what positions people hold at the college, and then direct specific emails to them. And so we've had it in the past, when Dr. Goodwin was here, we'd have requests from Dr. Goodwin to our finance person to draft a check for this amount and send it to this bank account. We have systems in place, and finance has systems in place so that any one person can just create a check and distribute it. But it looked very real. It's from Larry, and then they'll go back and forth, and they do this frequently. Christy, I'm sure you're aware of this, right?
Quite a few, yeah.
Our directory is online for a variety of reasons. It's not exactly what I'd prefer, but it is there. You can still find this information, but you want to be really cautious when you're looking for something very specific. People are asking you to do something. So you can change your email address, your sending email address to anything you want it to be. You can be Donald Trump for the day if you want it, and send email. It's very easy to do, so don't be fooled by the sender's address. If the smart thing for you to do is have a secondary email account, do your personal business on your secondary email, because as you're aware, there's data breaches and they probably happen daily. And whatever you signed up with your work account, usually I get notified. We have a service that runs and scours the internet looking for css.edu accounts that have been compromised. And then I get notified, and then I will reach out to you all if it's something that's relevant. Sometimes I won't, for like a music sharing service or some obscure stuff, but I will definitely notify you if it's anything that is important. And it can be somewhat embarrassing. Like a few years ago, if you are aware of Ashton Madison, which was an adult friend finder site, essentially, there was a big breach, and we had a bunch of CSS accounts in there, but fortunately they're all students. So, but I didn't notify them all. And so you want to be careful what you are using your work account for. So it's just good practice anyway. So, how many of you have gotten the new Gmail in your new Gmail format? Not everybody has, right? So it rolls out in waves, and so it's a little bit different. But there's some new features in there that utilize artificial intelligence. And so have you noticed at the bottom of your inbox, like when you get an email from somebody, you can have a response? Tom, you want to just talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, these are new features with the new Gmail that we were scheduled to roll out starting on 21st. So it sometimes takes 3 or 4 weeks for everybody in the domain to get it. But eventually you can't opt out. It's going to happen whether you want it to or not. But some of the new features they have is Smart Reply. What it does is it uses the information from your email and your habits and things you write to then provide you with some responses at the bottom, so you can just hit great, thanks, got it. They'll usually give it 2 or 3 different responses, so it's just a quick reply. You don't have to do anything, you just click on it. The neat thing about it is like it says, if your style is, if you use exclamation points, it will actually start changing over time to reflect how you reply to emails. Of course, now the bad part about this, in my opinion, is that they scan your email. And so they're reading more of what's in your emails to find out for Smart Replies and the next one here. Nudging, actually go to the next one first. That kind of falls in place. HyperV notification. So it tries to learn from scanning everything in your inbox what you find important and who you find important. And so what you can do is turn on high priority notifications, which means you don't get that notifying dingle, dingle, dingle on your phone every time an email comes in, just from the ones you think are important. Again, they're learning from you. But it could be a nice feature if you get a lot of email. So you only get notified for ones from your wife or your husband or from somebody at college that is important to you. So that is a kind of a neat feature as well. The nudging is also kind of neat. It'll remind you that you haven't responded to an email that it thinks is important to you. So let's say your boss sends you an email and you don't respond in a couple of days. It'll come back and say, hey, why haven't you responded to this one? This is an important person. This is an important email. And nudge you. Again, it's Google being Google. They know more about us than I think we know about ourselves sometimes. But you'll see these new features come out. You don't have to use them, but eventually you will. The thing with Google is they're like an iceberg. If you just can't stop it. If you don't like something, they push it. You eventually use it. But anyway, just so you know that they're coming. It's interesting stuff. It's AI. And yeah, they're using a much more advanced algorithm now. So keep that in mind too, that they do scan your email. They say they don't keep any of it, but I don't think so. They're using it to target more specific ads to you. One thing you'll find with the new Gmail, we shouldn't have the ads, but in your personal email accounts, the ads on their personal Gmail account, they used to be above the line, then your email below it. So now they're slipping in the ads below the line, so it looks like an email came in. So you click on it, it opens up the ad. There's no box to check it and delete it. It's just an ad there. So that's been a major complaint from people as they're slipping these ads in. But yeah, we are one step closer to a Gmail edge. Yeah, anyway, that's all I got.
You guys have any questions on that? I mean, it's an interesting thing, and we're using artificial intelligence. They're not reading it, but using their tools to figure out what's in the email and respond. And usually it's pretty common.
Oh, it's spot on. They do a great job. They can, if you type an email about ping pong paddles, you'll get an ad for a ping pong paddle within days. Maybe
On
hours.
your personal stuff.
On your personal stuff, yeah. Luckily, we don't have the ad.
You want to explain a little bit about our Gmail here at work versus personal education Gmails?
Yeah, it is different. We get what we pay for, which is we get free. As an education, we don't pay for any of this. They give it to us free. We'll see how long that lasts. But we get the enterprise edition plus some extra. We have classroom and some other educational features that you don't get on a personal or even at an enterprise level, which you would have at a company. We don't get any ads. Your drive, we have unlimited storage up to, I think each person, I think there is an upper limit of like 10 terabytes, but if you already get that full of buckets, we'll buy you some more space. That's just impressive. So that's another great feature of your work Gmail account is you have your K drive, you have your R drive, but you can get your Gmail drive, your drive from anywhere in the world, wherever you are, and it's unlimited. So we're encouraging people to start using that drive rather than their K drive because it's backed up. I can restore stuff for you. It's protected. People worry about the security. As long as you got the sharing rights set properly, which isn't a big deal, it's great use, and you can put anything up there in its native format. You don't have to convert it to the Gmail stuff. You can leave it up there as a doc or a JPEG or whatever you want. Yeah, we have some great features. Thing that I always recommend to people is explore. There's so much with the Google apps. I can't possibly know it all, and I can't possibly tell everybody about it because there's just so much to it. But we encourage people to explore and find stuff. And if you want something that isn't turned on, some feature, just let me know. I can turn that feature on for people. And, so if there's something you find out there that's really cool, you want to use, it's going to make your life a little easier, just let us know. Anyway.
How many of you have set up a security email? We have it, it's within Banner, it's within Core. And the function of this is that when you change your password, college password, it'll send an email to your secondary account to alert you. This is very useful in the case, in the case where someone would have access to your account and change your password. Usually what a hacker will do, if they gain access to your account, they will go in and they will change the password immediately so that only they have access to it. This is a trigger that alerts you that your account was changed without your knowledge, but even if you did change it, it's very good. So this is something I would hope that everybody has in here. And while you're in there, then make sure you're signed up for Saints Alert as well. It's right in that same area.
And also allow you to change self-service password resets.
Right, so we have a feature here where you can reset your own password and it sends you a link to your secondary or your security email, and that's what it's used for. So if you lock yourself out, you can't get a hold of the help desk to reset it, or anyone will. This will allow you to reset it, but only if you have that security email set up. Very good. Carrie has handouts on that as well, so if you want to visual walk through that. We force password changes here every 6 months. The reason we do that is because the way hackers work on the system is that they will go out and find passwords, or passwords and accounts get shared on the internet. And usually they are a little bit older. And so what will happen is there'll be a breach. Stuff gets dumped on the internet. People start testing accounts. And if they find that they're valuable, then they have more value and they will sell them. A lot of times this takes a fair amount of time, and so the 6-month change prevents old passwords from being used. And when I get notified of CSS accounts that have been accessed or shared on the internet, I will go through and look at the accounts, and then I can tell, I work with Tom and Will to see how old those passwords are, or the account and the last time the passwords have been changed. And usually these are old. And so that's why we force the change. We have systems in place that monitor your login failures. So if you are somewhere and you've changed your password and you can't remember and you bang away on it, we'll get notified. And this is often what hackers don't work. They don't sit down to a keyboard and type out passwords and try to guess. They'll use a software program and it'll bang away on your account. And what we have it set up for is 5 failed logins, and your account will get disabled for 20 minutes, I believe. And then it gets re-enabled. And this stops automated attacks, which almost all hackers use. It's very rare that hackers will sit down and hand attempt this unless it's somebody of really high value. So in the past, where we've had people access accounts, we had somebody that changed their password, they went to log in, went to log in again, it was changed. Someone else was in their account and they were changing the password. They came down and said, hey, this is weird. So we looked at it, yeah, someone had been in their account. Within Google, in your inbox, you can click on Gmail, click on Details, which is on the lower right-hand corner of the screen. You can see all the login activity of your account within the last 10 logins. And you generally should see the same addresses, same locations accessing your Gmail. The one thing you'll notice is a little bit different is that when you're on a cell phones, depending on your provider, get IP addresses from not in this area. Verizon, AT&T come out of Chicago, some come out of Dallas. So, and then if you're traveling, if you are flying somewhere, you'll see different addresses in here as well. But if you are here and you look at this and you're like, wow, I just saw a login from Czechoslovakia. Well, then you got a problem because our cell providers do not outsource the addresses anywhere except in the United States. So, but that's something to take a look at every once in a while. Your home internet address generally stays the same, and you will see that when you're logging your phone. We have a system in place that will notify us if an account is logged into from certain parts of the world. And it's not a bad idea if you're doing traveling, like say you're going to study abroad or traveling, particularly when we have stuff set up for India, because we've had a lot of problems with accounts being compromised and hackers coming from India. We have alerts set up that will alert us, and we usually get this. So we have students right now that are in India, and we know them. But if we see something coming from them, usually we will disable the account because we have a pattern of people accessing stuff from certain areas. So, I'm sure you've all heard about this in the password, but it changes frequently. But the big deal right now is that length beats complexity. So it doesn't need to be super technical. You don't need to throw in a bunch of symbols and characters. It just needs to be long. And this is because of how computers crack passwords. And humans are not cracking passwords unless you would happen to leave something up on social media where someone can easily figure out what you might use as a password. But longer passwords are better. We can do up to 50 characters here. So, as many of you have many different passwords for things, the temptation is to use one password for all your sites, but that's a bad idea because as soon as your account is compromised, they will go to the most common sites and start using those same passwords to try. So we use a commercial product for IT staff for some of our passwords for accessing servers, but LastPass is something that I'm a fan of. I know people in our department use it personally. You can put it on your phone. You can use it through the cloud. It will store your passwords for you in an encrypted format. They claim that they don't have the ability to decrypt those passwords. I'm not sure if that's true or not. If like NSA actually need to access something, they may be able to do that, but their claim is that they don't have any access to your password. So it's a good tool. I am hoping, and I don't know if it'll make it this year for benefits, but I would like to roll this out to the whole college and add a discounted version of LastPass so that everybody just have this here. But they have a free version that you can use, so if you don't have a password manager, it's a really good way to go. Your mobile devices, if you think about everything that you have on there, probably have as much stuff on there as your computer, if not more. So at the very least, use a passcode. And turn this on. We have actually recovered devices that have been stolen from us in the department with Find My Phone, or Find Our Tablet, basically in this case. These things really do work. If you've ever used it and you're sitting on campus, it'll actually show you different locations on campus that you're at. So it's really pretty amazing how they triangulate that. So, this seems to have really died off. Have any of you gotten text message spam in the last several months? I don't know if it's the government has been cracking down on this. There's some really heavy duty fines for using texting because in some cases it can cause both fees. Not generally speaking anymore with our cell plans, but some people would get charged a quarter for a text or something. But I have not seen much of this lately, but it's the same kind of deal. Click on this link and they will try to install software on your phone. So be aware of that. This is a good thing to use for anything, for any device, and particularly good to your relatives, older relatives. Landlines, big deal because scammers will just pound away on those phone numbers and try to get people to do this. And this actually works quite well. You have your phone on here, but I know you still get stuff like every
Yeah.
So keep your stuff up to date. That's the easiest thing you can do for your home computer to prevent malware. Modern Windows computers, anything Windows 10, keeps stuff up to date pretty well on its own, and it has anti-malware built into it. So you generally speaking, do not need any additional software. You don't need to buy Avast or Symantec or anything like that. When you buy a computer, it often comes with that, and it's like a marketing thing where they'll let you use it for 6 months or so, and then it expires, and then you have to buy it again. You don't actually need it. The Windows Defender is quite good. And Macintosh has a built-in, or has Sophos is free malware bites Avast for that. So you really don't need to layer up on the anti-malware. If you have a case where your computer gets infected, it is good to use a different product to download something like Malwarebytes and run it against it, because not any one antivirus program will find everything. So but you don't necessarily need to keep it on there. That's like what our help desk does. If you have a work computer, we bring it in, or students, they'll run multiple anti-malware programs against the computer. This is a really nice feature in this, the encryption that is on Word and Excel is very strong. So if you have documents and you're still using Word and Excel, you can encrypt them. The thing is you cannot recover it if you forget the password. There's no way to recover that, but it actually is, it works quite well. So it is, it's high strength. So 2 features I would say to put on your home computer are these right here. These are add-ins in your browser. AdBlock Plus, what it does is it knocks down all the advertisements that you see within the web pages that you visit. And a lot of malware comes from advertisements. So websites will sell real estate on the sidebars of their pages, and there are middlemen that sell advertisements, and they don't often sanitize the ads. It's a little bit malware within advertisements. I have found more and more when you go to websites, like if you use Google News, for instance, and you click on a link and you go to the New York Times or Washington Post, they will often ask you to turn off ad block because they can detect it. And they are giving you content for free in exchange they're trying to advertise stuff to you. So it's kind of but it's easy enough to turn off for a certain page. Web of Trust is a tool that works by giving you a rating when you do a Google search. And it comes back with pages of searches. It'll have a green circle, red circle, yellow circle based on reputation of the website is bad or not. It'll actually prevent you from getting to certain sites that they're known to be malware. So these are 2 things, and if you have children, these are good things to have on their machine. Public Wi-Fi, it's easy, nice to use, but be really careful because it is easy to intercept your traffic on that and steal your data. So I wouldn't do anything like banking, bill paying, that kind of stuff. When your airports are a big area, people will have tools just sitting around at airports looking for open internet to steal information. So we had somebody here quite high up at the college, was at a hotel in Washington, D.C., and someone intercepted their stream and hacked their account. So that was just a few years ago. So
Question.
Yep.
So this happens all the time where I'm at a hotel and I'm working on my email or through Google. Do I have any concerns there?
Do they give you, if they give you a password when you check in to access the wireless?
Yeah, I'm seeing less and less passwords when I'm
Yeah.
traveling. They're trying to make it easier.
Yep.
And so they're warning me, they're telling me this is an open network,
Yeah.
and I know that. I'm not doing any of that stuff, but I am working on my email. I am in core. I've already passworded through.
Yep. It's a tricky one because the connection between your browser and core ends up being encrypted, but there's the connection between your computer and the wireless access point that can be intercepted before the connection becomes encrypted. It's hard to say, so I can't tell you that it's secure, but I can't tell you that it's super dangerous either. It depends on how sophisticated the people around you trying to steal your stuff is. So I do some stuff from hotels in that case, but not very much. So that's not the perfect answer. There are free VPN services that you can use that encrypt your connection, and those are available. So once you reach out to me afterwards, and I'll see if I can get something for you, try and get resources. So it really depends on how technically savvy the people that are trying to steal your stuff.
It seems like it's also a level of risk too. Because if they're monitoring the stream, they're going to see that you're going to the bank. They're going to pay attention to that. They're going to see that you're going to your Google Gmail account. It's not going to be as important to them. They're not going to waste their time.
Yeah, they look for certain sites. They have triggers set up on those fake hotspots that they look for certain bank, shopping sites, Amazon, anything where you're going to spend some money, where they might get a credit card. But not so much for email. But it's never completely safe. Anytime you're on the internet, and like I always tell people that when you hit send on any email, that's public information. That email is public information, once you hit send. Any document attached to an email, public information. There's nothing you can do. I mean, yeah, unless it's point-to-point encryption, but even after that, person received it, unencrypted, and they may lose it too. So anything sent, it's out there.
There's a really neat product, we'll just brought this up, it's called Virtru. It's VIRTRU, and it is encrypted email. And it's easy to use, and they have a free version. I would suggest you do that if you're sending around any sensitive information. It's good to use family stuff if you're something pushing back and forth or something. We do use it here for some people, and it works fairly well. You use it, don't you? You
Yeah.
study Virtru?
Yeah, I definitely use that. I communicate with clinical sites, so I've got some confidential information I'm sending back and forth, and it
Yeah.
works really well for that.
Yeah.
Occasionally you run into someone who struggles with figuring it out and just gets thrown off. But
Yeah.
for the most part, the recipients have had no trouble at all.
Yeah. It's a huge breakthrough because in years past, trying to do encryption was really tricky. It was cumbersome, and these folks have figured it out. And the person used to work with the NSA, and they saw a real big need for this, and so they don't have it's called Virtru though. Christy, do you use it?
I don't use it, but I probably should. But I did get an email from Julie Spikers with, I think, Minnesota State grant information, and it came through like that. You know,
Yeah.
Julie wants sending you a message, and I get those from Wells Fargo, you know,
Yeah.
where I have to,
Yeah.
if I'm contacting them. So it was the first time I'd done that. So I went in, and basically she was emailing me information about payments that were coming in. I think she had an attached roster with
Sure.
information. So normally she would have just emailed me that. So it was just protecting that information a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's the first time I'd seen it, but it probably would be something finance should look at.
Yeah, yep. We have a variety of people using it. We have about 30 licenses or so.
Okay.
You can certainly look at that. It's really handy. As Tom said, consider email essentially public. As you know, all the stuff that's going on in our court cases in the government, the ability to pull back email a long time ago is there. So we really think about what you're sending around, because it doesn't ever go away. It absolutely doesn't. You can retrieve virtually anything. So somebody can someone. Wireless routers at home, those are a frequent target. Just this summer, there was a big attack on people's home routers. And you have to, I can't walk through how to do this at home, but if you Google how to update your Linksys router, your Cisco router at home, you can find easy walkthrough steps to do this. This is just like keeping your home computer up to date, except a little bit more important, because this thing is more or less internet facing. People can find it, and they get into this and they can have access to all the data that you're sending around on your home network computers you're using. This is a really neat product right here. It's free. It's called OpenDNS for Home. For those of you, well, I suggest it for everybody. And what it does is they run your internet searches through their servers, and they knock down all the malware, bad sites. We used to use it here commercially, but we have a different product now, but it works really well. So if you're trying to go to a known, or unknown to you, but a known bad website, it will let you there. They have features. If you have young family members in the house, you can set up filters like no adult content whatsoever. Anything that is as adult content will be blocked. So you can set this up for your home. You can say, I don't want anybody to see anything with alcohol or gambling or tobacco, and set these filters up on here. It's free. So it's a really handy tool, and just works really well for the internet as well. So you just have to go to OpenDNS, and there's a place to sign up for an account here that will walk you through setting that up. It's something I would recommend. How many of you have smart speakers at home? So it's kind of a big deal in the security world about what's going on with all that information, everything that's being listened to. The devices are always listening, but they only start recording when you use the wake word. So recording meaning that data gets sent back to Google, Amazon, Apple, and then they run it through their artificial intelligence processors to see what you're actually asking and then return an answer back. The data that is there forever, essentially. You have the ability to delete stuff, but I don't know if they actually delete it, how it actually gets deleted on their end. Because they use that, your language, for learning so that they can improve their services. So if you ever looked at the end user agreement on these, it may say that it is there, it's anonymized. But there are abilities to go in and you can delete all of your requests on there. So it's kind of a big area because you think about how much information they're storing. So for a long time, Google had a free information service. You could dial, it was 411, and ask them, like, how do I get here? How do I get there? And they provided this service. But what they want on it is your voice and your dialect so that they can do machine learning on it. They gave out directions or information for free, but in exchange, they got your voice and your dialect so that they train their servers. So I don't really know. It's just something to think about. Have any of you went in and deleted your requests, your skills?
I looked at them just to see, but I haven't deleted them.
Is it like pages and pages and pages?
Oh, yeah, anything we've ever said after Google, or we also had an Alexa. And so anything after you say that word gets recorded. And I think I told you we did a test because I didn't believe that it wasn't listening all the time. So when we had the Amazon thing, what we did was we picked something that we never talked about as a family ever. So it was a ping pong table. We'd never had one, never spoke about it. And so we would at dinner and sitting right there, we'd talk about ping pong tables and ping pong paddles and stuff just to see if it was actually listening and see if it would throw up some ads in our Gmail accounts or Amazon accounts to see if they would start showing us ping pong stuff. We did this for 6 months. And one of the resources, and they never showed me a ping pong table ever once. So they're not listening, or they're just too smart and they heard me talking. I would shut off the speaker first and shut it off, and then I'd say, okay, we're going to talk about ping pong tables now. Then we turn the speaker back on, just in case it was listening to me talking about testing it. They never did it, so I don't know. Either they're too smart for me, or they're just actually listening.
My daughter's cry used to trigger ours.
Oh, really?
She's a brand new baby.
Really?
Yeah, apparently a wah sounds like Alexa. So we unplugged ours. So I'm like, every time baby cries, I think I'm gonna start listening to us. And that could just be me being paranoid too, but yeah, it was because you see the little blue ring and you're like, why is it listening?
So Burger King had an ad and it triggered Alexa, so it was on purpose.
Oh, seriously?
They took that out.
That's funny.
I go over this every time because I think it's really important. If you're shopping online or shopping in general, I would use a credit card versus a debit card. Because of the way the banking laws are written, you have much more protection with a credit card versus a debit card. In addition to the fact that debit card comes right out of your account instantly. Credit card, there's a middleman there that can slow things down, prevent. So I use PayPal as much as I can whenever a site offers it, because again, there's another entity between myself and that. Stores want you to store passport and credit card information with them. I would not do that. There's only two kinds of companies or businesses, those that have been breached and those that don't know they've been breached. So everybody at one time or another will have their stuff stolen from them. So.
Can you come and tell my wife that?
I can. I mean,
I've said that, and it doesn't seem to make a difference. She's an Amazon friend.
Yeah. So, you know, in some companies, like, they have so much money and resources that their security is quite good, and they're looking for the stuff from people. So people are always trying to get into them, but it's kind of equivalent to saving your money in the mattress versus at the bank. You know? The bank has got pretty good security compared to home security, and those guys work really hard to keep bad people out, but it does happen. I have not seen many Amazon breaches in my career watching this, but I'm sure it's happened at small amounts. Yeah.
For the amount that I've ordered from Amazon for college, you know, you guys are really good, but I mean, I order a lot online and have not so far had any problems.
Well, a lot of it's like people's, email accounts get hacked.
Yeah.
Well, then the hacker has that information. Your Amazon's tied to that, so they'll reset the password, then get your. So it's not really Amazon security at that point. It's just another,
Yeah.
there's if you're sharing passwords and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. So I think, but
We've had problems that, for all of you who have key cards, we've had problems with Wells Fargo having access, just like Apple credit card. I know we've reissued key cards several times to different people, so. Keep a list of auto pay accounts, so when your card does get stolen, which it will, it's easier to recover from. One way to help eliminate cycle is killing cards every so often and getting new ones reissued. I do this, it's not really convenient, but it is something that that helps spread the credit card number again. What happens is hackers buy cards in huge lots of tens of thousands, and then they use automation to test the cards and see if they're active. So with your credit card accounts, your credit card statements, what they'll often do is do like a 99-cent charge on them, just to see if the card's live. I think around Christmas time, we had, people can come on our site, you can go to the Mitchell and buy tickets. Someone had probably 2,500 cards that they ran through there with a machine just to see if they're active. And that causes all sorts of hassle for us. So it's good that it happened. We figured out a way to prevent that. But hackers will use any sort of form or automation that they can to test cards, and some of those testing cards against those. So we found it in about, 13 minutes, I believe. Coworker called me and said, this is what's going on, and then I have the ability to block those addresses from accessing our site. We did that, and then she had to go back through a whole bunch of cleanup. So, but they will do that. So, how many of you know what geotagging is? I think this is a big thing if you're taking pictures and posting them on social media. If you have children, they're really into Instagram or Snapchat or whatever the flavor of the day is. This is something I highly recommend that you look, especially with your children. Creepers will do this. They will take pictures apart and see where you're located, see where that picture was taken. I'll show you this, but you can turn this off with your phone. Of course, it's nice to use sometimes. You're on vacation, you take a picture and you're like, oh, I don't remember where this is. It's a handy feature, but it is also a really scary thing because of the information that's shown in the picture. So, this is a tree that's just across the street from my house in the fall, and this is the information about where that tree is located, right here. Okay, this is on every picture that you take if you have geolocation turned on in your phone. You see this. You go into Apple settings and you can see the GPS, and it'll only when you're using your camera. I have a link back there. I'll go back to it in case you see it for Android phones. But this is the GPS coordinates of the tree across the street from my house. This is the elevation. This has altitude, but they've changed the elevation, but it tells you how far above the sea level you are. I live right across the street from the lake, so I'm at 204 feet above sea level. But so if you have children and they're posting stuff to the social media, bad people can go in and say, yep, that person took that picture at this place and this is where they live. Okay, so I would, if I had children in that age doing that, I would absolutely talk to them about this. So again, this is how you can do this in Android. You just go to this website. And these slides will be available afterwards, but I would be aware of that. So. Story of the day, right? And I'm no expert on fake news, but these are just some tips you can use to help ferret out what is real or not. You see a story and you can't find any other reference to it, because the way our media works and how they share stuff, you're gonna find more than one story on stuff. Right? So do some research, Google what you found in there, see if you can find another story about it. You guys know what clickbait is? These are the little weird stories at the bottom of web pages that are really enticing, and they're always put there by advertisers. So like, man with two heads eats snakes for breakfast. Right? And then you go there.
I've seen that one.
So it's stuff they want you to, and they put outrageous stuff on there, and oftentimes they can lead you to inaccurate news. So where did you see the article? Did someone just send this out? They saw it on their social media feed and sent it around to make sure it makes sense. Let's see if I can get this here. This is actually pretty interesting because this is showed up here. This is showed up. Let's see if I can find this. Oh, this is good. This is good. I just got it. Sorry. Go back here. Which one is
This is the famous photo.
Have any of you, this just happened after John McCain passed away. And okay, this started showing up in circles, groups that are opposed to people like John McCain. So look at this picture, right? Who's that guy? It's Osama, right? That's John McCain, that's Lindsey Graham. And this started circulating right after his death. Here's the original photo. This is Ahmad Karzai, the former president of Afghanistan, right? So then you come down here, and it's right there, and then they cleaved Ahmad up and put in Osama, and they start circulating everywhere. Photoshop and different tools like that are absolutely amazing how easily they can do this. People don't look at this, and they can say, wow, where did this come from? What is going on with this? So one thing you can do is you can right click and let's see. This is not the easiest way to do it, but you can always go back and see where these pictures came from. Usually like their Getty image or their AP's image, it will say the source of where this comes from. When they're doctored, they won't have that kind of information on them. So just something you can do to make sure that the images you're seeing you can be skeptical of or be aware of. What's that? Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. These sites are actually really good. They spend their whole time going through and checking what is real and what is not. So if you find something and you're really curious about it, I suggest that you visit those. I was reading about Snopes, and they are just completely flooded. They can barely keep up with anything, trying to figure out what's real or not anymore. And so, sorry. Okay, so I'm just about back. Yeah. Yep. If you look at sites, you see what where this information is coming from. You'll notice that there's a lot of funky addresses out there. Look at these, there's just slight differences in the addresses. And you can buy a domain name, which is a website address. And it's very inexpensive to do. And then you can put up your information and make could look fairly legit. So be aware of that. I want you to, when you're out doing this, and the good thing to teach your family, is just to stop thinking quick. Just stop, calm down. This is my contact information. I really like it when people send me spam or have questions about stuff. And I get quite a bit of it. People are aware around here. And it's good though, because if we see something, I can go back and talk to Tom. Tom can figure out how many people on campus got this particular phishing email. Instance, and then if it's big enough, we can send out an alert about it.
Yeah, it's helpful if you run into something, send it on to us, because by just doing a log search, we can determine whether it's 1,000 people or 5, and target individuals and let them know what's going on before they open it.
And Christy, like, you're aware your people up there are very big target.
A lot.
He's thinking of them.
We've got the ones from the president saying,
Yeah.
I was just telling Julie that.
Yeah.
Like, she met the vendor last night and we haven't paid them our money and she's mad.
Yeah.
So you better get that check out this morning. And a couple of them, I wouldn't say we've fallen for, but we were like starting to act like, what the heck, you know? But we had our checklist of things, but they are convincing, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Some of them are really good.
It's always a sense of urgency.
Yep.
A little bit like trying to feel bad.
Yep,
So.
yep.
Jeremy, I will look for the hotel stuff.
Yeah.
I thought you were gonna say the wife tool. If you get one of those, let me know about that too.
You get one, let me know.
Yeah, okay, yeah. On the same page.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna send her this document and say, hey, honey,
And then it's like,
Just FYI.
There's, I don't know, there's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yeah.
do you guys do department, can we go to departments and give presentations like this?
Absolutely.
Okay,
You bet.
I think that's good for us.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
Okay.